Hi, I'm Jill Johnson. I'm the assistant principal at Seward High School in Seward, Nebraska. And we have been using students, having students lead our social media team for 2 years now using Class Intercom. We started by training some admins so they'd know how to use the system. And then we dove right in with getting kids involved. And our very first social media intern was a student who actually was on her phone a lot at lunchtime and using Snapchat. And so she's also a leader in our school, and I felt like she could really be someone to help us get this started. And so we started with our first social media intern and built from there. And since that time, we've been able to not only have a multitude of students doing different things, but we've added a multimedia class. And that class has also allowed us then to give kids different skill sets, focusing on some writing content, some creating graphics, and others doing more creative types of things that we couldn't think of on our own. So when I started at Seward High 4 years ago, we had quite a few different social media accounts. We had multiple Twitter accounts. We had a couple different Facebook accounts. So as the leadership, we decided that we needed to unify that and really have a focus. And so that was our first step. And that worked really well. But then our content was still very much just pushing out calendar type activities and basic announcements. And so by bringing students into the mix, we were really able to capitalize on what social media can do to positively influence your culture. Students are in social media and they know what the new thing is, they know what the trends are. They're creating that pop culture that's happening now. And so students were really able to bring that life to our social media and give us their perspective. And it really is their story that they're trying to tell. And so it's been fun to allow them to have that freedom. And sometimes as adults, we want to say, that's not quite what I was thinking. But I know I've had to loosen up my reins a little bit. So that's been a learning experience for me. And it's had really positive results. So with the onset of e-learning in mid-March, we were really faced with a lot of challenges as a school. And so we're always talking about sharing our story. And a lot of our story was what ifs and really sharing information about COVID-19 and how that was impacting our school. But we also wanted to address how can we keep telling about the great things that are going on, because our teachers were still teaching and our students were still learning and our kids were still being kids, even though they couldn't do it in the typical sense. And so I reached out to Taylor and his crew at Class Intercom, and just through some brainstorming sessions, we came up with an idea of what it means to be a Blue Jay. And so because we had this Class Intercom system in place, our kids know, even if they're not on the social media team, they know how we run our social media, and that students contribute in a major way to that. It's primarily from students. And so I reached out to some seniors and we created some videos of what it means to be a Blue Jay. And I sent it out to a small group at first just to get their feedback and response. And within 24 hours, I had a student on one of our potter's wheels that we had sent home because he couldn't be here at the school. And he's sitting on his potting wheel and making a pot and telling about some of his favorite memories from state cross country. We also had our multimedia team. They were helping put together group shots of seniors in their mortar boards so that we could have a class photo. Since we weren't able to gather socially, they had to do that virtually. So once they learned how to do that and were figuring out those things, they were making all sorts of graphics and really just begging us for content to create. And so they made highlight spring sports, and especially seniors in those sports, using a lot of graphics and videos and a lot of those tricks they'd learned in that class. And we also saw kids in our family and consumer science classes making food safety videos on TikTok, and again, things that I could have never come up with. Class Intercom has given our students leadership opportunities by helping us create that very first team. That first student that I mentioned, that was our first student intern, she started us off by really helping us organize systematic approaches to a Google spreadsheet that allowed us to put dates and connect to our school and have a calendar of events. And then we had another student who saw on Twitter that she was our new student intern, and he said, or our social media intern, and he said, hey, I'd like to be a social media intern too because I'm hoping to major in this. And so we brought him on board, and he really took that organizational approach to making a list of Twitter handles and hashtags that we then shared across the state and other people added to have as a go-to when we're making posts on social media. We had another student, another senior, step up and say, I want to help with graphics because that's what I'm going to major in college. And another student that wanted to do video design. And so we had this group of 4 really strong seniors that was just, just killing it that first year. And so all of a sudden spring semester rolls around and I'm thinking we're pretty cool, right? We went around and we presented, I think at 5 different conferences across the state. And all of a sudden it hit me, these guys are graduating. What am I going to do? And so I just talked to them about that. And they're such a great group of kids and a great group of leaders, but they felt empowered to leave a legacy, and that's exactly what they wanted to do. And they said by systematizing all these pieces, they were able to pass that on. And so I had the video, our student that was involved in the video, Jonathan, he made tutorials for the upcoming students. He created a makeshift video production team, which has then ramped into our multimedia class. We had a graphics folder created and got art kids in then helping start to design graphics. And so they really did create that legacy that has now continued on even though they've all left. And it's fun for them to come back and give us their feedback. They'll also reach out to us on especially Twitter and Instagram and show their pride in being a Seward Blue Jay and what that really means.